Hey there, what's going on? I'm Andy, I'm a self-taught programmer, and in this video what I wanted to talk about is whether or not you should quit on your journey to become a self-taught programmer. And I get a lot of emails and people reaching out to me who are on the verge of quitting. They've been doing this for some people have been doing this for like a year or two, even if you've been doing it for months. Some people have put out hundreds of job applications and they're sort of at the end of their rope. They're just really questioning whether they can actually do this, whether this is possible. And I just wanted to give you an idea of how to proceed, how to move forward, and whether maybe you should quit or not. Now, if you're new here and you're wondering who the heck I am, I'm Andy Sterkowitz. I'm a self-taught programmer, like I mentioned earlier, and I'm also a mentor to everyday people who are aspiring self-taught programmers. So I really cover productivity tips, how to increase your skills, how to land that first job so you can change careers into something that's more meaningful. So I highly recommend hitting the subscribe button below, but also make sure to hit the bell icon to get notifications anytime I put out a new video. Now, with that being said, so let's really lay out like who I'm talking to. I'm not talking to people who maybe just got into this 2 weeks ago and are wondering whether they should do this or not. I'm talking about people like if you're the type of person who's been doing this for a really long time and you just find that you are struggling, like really struggling to just stay with it because you've gotten a lot of rejections, like you still can't find an interview, or you've gone through a lot of interviews, or maybe you even got your first job and got fired, or maybe you're just still in the process of learning but you feel like you're not going anywhere. So I really want to talk to you. Now, quitting is an option. You can always quit at this, right? Like you can always say, look, this is just not for me. Now, I think that if you're going to quit, it should be a smart decision, meaning that it makes sense. It shouldn't be an emotional decision. It should be a decision that you make that you can walk away feeling like you've done everything you could. When you should not quit is just because things get hard, right? Like things get hard, or because you feel like people are telling you that you can't do this anymore. Like that's honestly just complete BS. Like you're probably reading too much on the internet, you're watching too many YouTube videos like my own. Stop watching YouTube videos, just put in the work. Now, let's just really kind of pull this back here though. Like what is really going on when you're thinking about quitting here? Like what is really going on? Like number one is I find that first of all, there's a couple different situations that you should really know whether you're in. So number one is if you just had a lot of bad luck. Bad luck happens to everybody, right? Like at some point in your life, bad luck will come your way. At some point you will suffer pain. Like it's just that's life as it is. There's no escaping from it. There's no way that you can really avoid it. And so sometimes on your journey to become a software developer, bad luck comes your way. That could be in the form of maybe you have to take care of a sick loved one, or a parent, or a spouse, or something like that. And that takes you, that you're gonna have to take time away from this, right? It could also come in the form of maybe financial problems. Maybe you have to get a second job and you have to work 80 hours a week or something crazy like that. And if that happens, doing a career change like this is really difficult. Like being able to put in the time, and if you have, again, a normal social life or friends or even like a family, then that gets even harder. That's called bad luck. And even other bad luck would be something like going into a job interview multiple times and just maybe they told you that you're great, but you're just not quite what we're looking for and they went with somebody else. That's all bad luck to me. And that's really completely outside of your control. Like you have no control whether someone close to you you're gonna have to take care of, right? That you have no control over whether or not you get a job at the end of the day. You only have control over what you can do. So that bad luck component, if that's where you're at, like don't quit because of that. Like please, like bad luck happens to everybody. Like get through that period of bad luck that you're having and just persevere through it. Like maybe it's gonna take you another 6 months before you can get back to programming, but that doesn't mean you should quit entirely. Quitting entirely to me is more like if it's not a good fit or if you really have some other good opportunity. Now, the next thing that I noticed for a lot of people that really causes them to wanna quit is not having a good system in place to measure their progress. So really think about what I'm saying here. Like most people don't really know how they've progressed over time. So like a good example of this is I've been teaching myself piano for like a couple months now, and it's really simple. I just watch YouTube videos and I just like started playing a little bit, like maybe 30 minutes a day, just as a side hobby, just for fun, because we have a piano in the house. So what I found is that I had no expectations going into it. I've been doing it for a long enough time now where I'm kind of seeing the progression. It's really fun. And at first I could barely hit like a couple keys, and now I can play like a third of a song. And it's like really cool. It's awesome. I love it. It's fun. It's great. But I'm doing that because I have no expectations. And I'm looking back on, and I remember very vividly, like just being able to play like a couple keys was very, very hard. And I was like, holy crap, that's really hard. Now that I can play a lot more, it's so cool to see that progression, right? What I see with coding especially is that people tend to, first of all, they focus so much on the conceptual side of things, right? So they're watching tutorials, reading books, which is really awesome. I love it. You should definitely do that. But there's no measure of progress for them. So yeah, they could say they read this book, they watched that tutorial, but they don't feel like they've done anything. They don't feel like, they don't really see that progression that is really there, right? So in other words, they don't have a first project, a second project, a third project. They can look back and see how terrible their code was in the first project and how it got better in the second, and how the third one is a lot better and something they're proud of now. Even beyond that, they don't keep track of their time, how much time they're putting in. They don't journal or anything, and I'm a huge proponent of journaling, by the way, even if it's once every couple of days or once a week, because if you've been journaling every week for 6 months and you're on your journey to become a self-taught developer, you can look back every week and say, like, look, you can look back 3 months ago. That journal entry will pull you back into where you were. It will tell you everything you need to know about where you were and where you've gone. And the big problem with this is that people get very, very upset and flustered and emotional about where they are currently at, because let's say they try to create a project, they're frustrated, they're stuck, they don't know what to do. And the one common thing I hear all the time from people is like, man, I'm so dumb. I'm so dumb. I don't know what I'm doing. This person knows what they're doing. Like, I should know better. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, you've come so far in such little time, and here you're getting very emotional and mad about this small, tiny little issue that's preventing you from moving forward. It makes no sense whatsoever. So having those concrete measures of progress will give you a sense. If you are seriously not progressing, if there's something very wrong, then that can tell you to revisit how you're approaching things. And that's a very, very different concept from quitting altogether. So look, what I'm really trying to say here is, if you are at the point where you're like really close to giving up, like really evaluate your situation. Are you making this decision based on good, sound reasoning? You tried this. If you don't like it, you put everything out on the table, you realize it's just not for you? Or do you need to change your approach, right? Do you need to change your job hunting strategies? Do you need to change how you study? Do you need to really take a deep self-critical examination about what you're doing? Do you need to be open to changing? That honestly is most of the time like where you're at when you're ready to quit. For most of you guys who are ready to quit, you really need to take a step back and critically self-examine yourself. Like, humble yourself and say, like, what am I doing wrong? Where could I do better? How could I study better? How can I learn better? Maybe you need to be better about being consistent and disciplined and waking up earlier and going to bed earlier. Like, I cannot tell you, obviously, in this video what your specific issue is. But what I find is that most people know. In the back of their mind, there's like a little voice that's telling them, like, okay, you're messing up in this one way, but we tend to block that voice out because it's painful. Like for me, I can't think of anything specifically off the top of my head, but there's definitely been moments in my life where I knew where I was messing up. I knew it, but like you want to think that you're not. And a lot of times, like, acknowledging that you don't have discipline or something, like you don't have discipline in one area of your life, it's painful. Like, you have to come to grips with that you're not a perfect person, and most of us walk around thinking we got everything like locked down and figured out. So I guess, like, before I kind of sign off here is, if you're ready to quit, if you're at the end of your rope, if you're sort of like on your hands and knees, like looking up and be like, please help me, I'll do anything, like, that's a really, really good opportunity for you. It's a good opportunity because when you're at that moment, your lowest possible point, when you're ready to give it all up, is when you are free to really like examine yourself without without getting self-conscious. That's a big one. Like, most people don't want to change. In fact, if you look at most of your friends and family, and even you can look at yourself if that helps, most people don't change. They, are not making as much money they want. They're overweight. There's skills, hobbies they want to cultivate, but they never can ever like get up the motivation to do it. But really, to me, what it is that most people don't have enough pain in their life to even get started on something, right? So they avoid all the pain that can come from saying like, oh, look, I'm 10 pounds overweight or 20 pounds overweight. They just want to shove it down. They want to shove it down with, coping behavior, or they create some sort of map or of reality in their head that allows them to basically avoid having to deal with it. So don't be that person. Instead, if you're ready to quit, like, make this a point to really say, like, where am I messing up? How can I walk forward? Like, brutal honesty. You can ask friends, ask family. Maybe this is an opportunity for you to grow in some major way that you've always been avoiding because it was going to be very, very painful. So look, I don't have the answer for you specifically about whether you should quit or not, but definitely take this into consideration. I hope this is helpful. Look, I've been there before, not specifically with software development, but definitely many areas of my life. And it's something that it can be a really big opportunity for growth and change. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Definitely leave a comment. I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say for you guys who are experiencing that really low level, like where you're ready to just kind of walk away from things. Other than that, guys, if you are new to software development, so if you're watching this and you're just getting into the self-taught thing, like you want to eventually be a software developer, I highly recommend downloading a free PDF report that I created recently called the Top 5 Programming Languages to Learn in 2019. It's a PDF of the 5 languages that I think will help you, give you guidance on what you can choose moving forward. Definitely spend a lot of time on that. So if you want a copy of that, you can go into the description below and there's a link for that where you can download it. Other than that, that's all I've got for today. Thank you so much for watching. Peace out.